attacks have erupted in Jammu with forces firing tear gas on protesters. Members of the Kashmiri Pandit community took to the streets in different parts of the Union territory to protest against brutal killings. Protesters have blocked the Srinagar and Jammu National
These videos are from a protest held by Kashmiri Pandits in Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam. The protesters raised slogans against Prime Minister Modi, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, and Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha. They were approaching the governor's house when security forces fired tear gas shells to dispel them. So what exactly sparked this protest? Well, the reason why they are agitated is the killing of one Rahul Bhai. Rahul was a 32-year-old Kashmiri Pandit who was shot dead by militants in broad daylight. The incident happened on 12th May in a government office in Kashmir. This, even though the office was being secured by 2 security personnel. The protests continue even as we record this episode. Before we come to concerns and demands that are driving this protest, here's a quick recap of the past to put things into context.
A couple of years before this date, targeted killings of prominent Hindus had begun. However, this dreadful night was the beginning of a never-ending sorrow for lakhs of Kashmiri Pandits. Mobs of Muslim rioters had entered Hindu settlements, shouting war cries like "Hum kya chahte azadi, ay zalimo, ay kafiro, Kashmir hamara chhod do." The worst fears of the Kashmiri Pandits began to come true. Rampant and bloody attacks on the minorities by militants, often in association with the local majority population, ensured that the exodus was inevitable. Days and nights, weeks and months, and even after years since the beginning of the targeted violence, Pandits continued to flee from the valley.
As per the data provided by the Jammu and Kashmir government, at least 209 Kashmiri Pandits were killed between 1989 and 2004. According to a report released by the Ministry of Home Affairs in April this year, to escape the hostility, a total of 64,827 Kashmiri Pandit families had to leave the valley in the early 90s. Most of the migrant Kashmiri Pandit who became refugees in their own country tried settling in the Jammu region with whatever precious little they could have carried with them, while many others migrated all the way to the national capital Delhi and its nearby regions. Apart from those from the valley, at least 1,054 families from the hilly areas of Jammu migrated to the Jammu plains.
Hopelessly outnumbered, most of the 1,40,000 Hindus in the valley of a population of more than 30 lakh Muslims panicked and fled. More than 90,000 of them sought refuge in Jammu, Udhampur, Nagrota and Kathua. Another 6,000 moved to Delhi. More than 2,006 reached Amritsar and other parts of Punjab. Yet another couple of thousand scattered in various other directions. The government has so far made only marginal arrangements for their rations. A large majority of them have not found accommodation in the limited number of camps set up by the government.
As for the records of registration available with the Relief and Migrant Commissioner, at present 43,618 registered Kashmiri migrant families are settled in Jammu, 19,338 families are settled in Delhi NCR, and 1,995 families in a few other states and the UTs in the country. However, the camps and colonies built to house them are far from great. The Pandit colonies in areas like Delhi NCR aren't spacious enough as they mostly are two-room accommodations. In fact, in Kashmir Valley, in the last 2 decades, ghetto-like structures have been made which are under concertina wire and tight security. Need not say, a normal life is simply not possible.
Even on the daily livelihood front, the helping hand extended by subsequent governments have been said to be inadequate. As of today, cash assistance of Rs 3,250 per person with a ceiling of Rs 13,000 per month per family and 9 kgs of rice per head, flour 2 kgs per head and sugar 1 kg per family is given to Kashmiri migrants. However, those Kashmiri migrants who are retired government employees are provided with a pension. In fact, those migrants who still technically are government employees are given their full salary. Several states provided reservations in their educational institutes to the children of Pandits.
हम आएंगे वतन अपने वाजी साहब और यहीं पे दिल लगाएंगे, यहीं मरेंगे और यहीं के पानी में हमारी राख भाई जाएगी.
To resettle a community back to the same place from where they were forced to run away in order to save their lives is not easy. From ensuring security and economic opportunities to mending the broken social fabric, the task was always tough. As a part of the rehabilitation plan formulated in the year 2004, the UPA government in 2008 announced a package to facilitate their rehabilitation. The package included 13,000 job opportunities for young Kashmiri Pandits, 7.5 lakh rupees in aid for rebuilding houses, 2 lakh rupees additional for completely demolished houses, and facility of transit camp residence until the house got rebuilt. In 2004, 5,242 two-room tenements or TRTs were built across several locations in Jammu, including Jati, Purkho, Muthi, and Nagrota under the Prime Minister package, with the aim of drawing Pandit migrants back to the valley and their eventual return and rehabilitation there. The BJP-led NDA government too made several announcements. The job openings were increased to 6,000 from the previously 3,000. House reconstruction aid was enhanced to 20 lakh rupees. 6,000 transit accommodations were also approved. And in 2021, MHA announced its plan to resettle all the Kashmiri Pandits by 2000 and 2022 and creation of 25,000 new jobs for them. Of these, the promises of housing by both the governments seems to have miserably failed. Even after years, just 3 families have opted for the scheme. The construction of transit accommodations too has been going on at a snail's pace. According to the Union Home Ministry, only 17% of the proposed accommodation for Kashmiri Pandits has been completed in the past 7 years. Till February 2021, construction of only 1,025 units had been partially or fully completed, while work at more than 50% units was yet to start. The delay in the project straightaway translates into undermining of security for many Kashmiri Pandits who chose to return and take up jobs. A report in Indian Express this May highlighted that less than 1/5 of Pandits under PM job package live in secure areas. The remaining are compelled to rent quarters outside the secure zones meant for them. They also have to travel long distances without security on a daily basis, since many of their workplaces are often in far-off areas. Data shows that 34 minorities have been killed in Jammu and Kashmir in the last 5 years. To get closer, 14 Hindus have been killed in the valley after the dilution of Article 370 in the erstwhile state, and of which 4 have been Pandits. The protesting Pandits have accused the government of making them scapegoats. They blame the killings on the government's claim of normalcy in the valley. It is perfectly possible that militants are even more likely to target Pandits in order to puncture the claim of normalcy, because normalcy in the valley essentially means their defeat. Sanjay Tiku, a Kashmiri Pandit leader and the president of Kashmiri Pandit Sangharsh Samiti (KPSS), too criticizes the government for its claim. He says, "The government says there is no militancy, but in the last 1 year the graph has gone up. Dignitaries, delegates are being brought in. They are shown the Dal Lake. Tourists will also give you the same normalcy narrative during the 10-day stay. But the situation is not better, as is being portrayed by certain media, and of course, there is a massive political vacuum." With the delimitation exercise completed in the Union Territory, high chances of revival of political activities and elections subsequently are certainly likely to infuriate the militants who do not want peace to prevail in the valley. Despite assurances from the administration, many Pandits are still skeptical about going back to the valley. 65-year-old Ratan Kaul, who is the president of the Public Policy Forum, says, "My heart beats for Kashmir, but we have no home, no job, or no security in Kashmir. Only bullets awaiting us. It is difficult, after having rebuilt our lives outside Kashmir, to return to a place filled with uncertainty." While for most Pandits, memories of the past and uncertainties about the future in the valley holds them back, for a comparatively newer generation, the emotional connect with Kashmir is missing. 34-year-old Shivani Paishi, who lives in Delhi, says, "I visited Srinagar for the first time in 2021 and I couldn't relate to the place. All I saw was police, army and CRPF everywhere. I can move freely in Delhi, but I don't know what will happen in Kashmir in the next 5 minutes." 32 years is a long time. A new generation least bothered about the past, which he has no memories of or hasn't seen anything at all, has grown up. While for some, even 3 decades aren't that long, not long enough to forget how they were betrayed by their friends and neighbors. The noise of loudspeakers atop the mosque suddenly going berserk while their brethren were shot in the silence of darkness, has enfeebled yet. The broken wires of trust and bonhomie are still to be mended, 32 years and counting. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.
कुछ बरसों से टूट गया हूं, खंडित हूं। वादी तेरा बेटा हूं।